Thank you, Peter and Lynn. I live on an island in the state of Rhode Island, connected by bridges, so I'm used to a certain degree of isolation when the seasonal residents leave. I did not realize how much social isolation from friends and neighbors and restricted travel would affect me mentally during the pandemic. It was a journey into the unknown. Since the early 90s, my work has been informed by an interest in environmental issues in relationship to our mortality. As points of departure, I use scientific data and other sources of information on climate change that are related specifically to the ocean and a global concern about plastic pollution. The panels are printed on Kozo and Gampi sheets, laminated to Mylar, and attached with handmade glass pins or Velcro. I usually work with assistants. I am printing a collagraph pre-pandemic lockdown with Anna Benjamin on a panel for algae bloom. Times Are A-Changing was a transitional piece meant for a show that never happened. Through the use of color, it represents the change from a healthy sea to a dying one, a healthy planet to a world in rapid decline on multiple levels. Overlapping panels create secondary colors while I build the constructions. My plates are made on a white plastic called Comotex. I emboss them with plastic and other found marine detritus, then develop them further with tones and washes. Then everything changed. The pandemic brought on a wave of new residents. The news was difficult to watch. Leaving home felt dangerous, and it all buzzed inside my head, making me restless and unable to focus in the studio. The new normal was in effect. Long walks on the beach with my dog made me aware of a new detritus caused by the pandemic: masks and gloves. This became the motivation and inspiration for new work. Not only was I embossing plates with plastic, but I began to develop the plates further by the addition of mask and glove imagery. I use acrylic and various materials to create lights and darks, documenting the times in my studio. Stephanie Tyson and Michaela Colagnesi made paper so I would have a stockpile to use as we anticipated a lockdown. They printed and made paper and masks. It became the new norm, until that changed when one assistant tested positive for COVID. I closed the studio, anyone and everyone. I had to rethink how to do everything where I thought I needed assistance. Clamps on my decal box were my new assistants. I began to experiment with different pulps and ways to apply color. I slowed down and played more. I was having some fun and was trying new things that I'd been thinking about doing for a long time. My new studio assistant was Captain, my dog. The Pandemic Reef series works were made with no printing or cutting, sometimes new, something new, and on a much smaller scale than I usually work. Masks and gloves were an obsession outside the studio and in the morning light, back to sculptural constructions, new materials, both conceptual and technical, added to my interest in complexity and piling things up. Touches Me, Touches You was a journey into a new color exploration and construction. There is usually no pre-planning for the pieces, only a specific idea that takes form as the panels are layered and the pieces come to life. I cut a series of small masks to combine and create a large sheet that could wave and fold across the top of the other panels, rather than always using larger sheets. Repetition in a time of trauma. I Will Follow You was a return to glass beads and a flatter construction. Masks and glove detritus seemed to follow me everywhere. Further exploration into mixed materials and processes were used, along with more complex layering in this piece. While restrictions eased after vaccinations, I was in an exhibition in June and was around more people in a few hours than I had been in over a year. It was both strange and exhilarating and a little frightening. Looking back, the anxiety about staying safe was offset by my studio, which was my sanctuary. There, the ugly news was forgotten when I was lost in work, and I also had time to create a new website, which was long overdue. Now I would like to introduce artist and longtime friend, John Babcock.